Hi guys, and welcome to Escape Wheel Watch Reviews. My name is Steve, and today we're going to be reviewing the Specht and Sohne SP0007, better known as the 37mm PRX homage. I purchased this watch during the 11/11 sale for around $65 US with earnings from this channel, so thank you guys so much for the continued support. I wouldn't be here without you guys, and very sorry for being so delayed on this. A couple months behind, but I was pretty busy over the holidays and just now getting back into the rhythm of things. So yeah, and like always, if by the end of this review you want to pick one of these up, I'm going to be leaving a link down in the video description. That is an affiliate link. You guys don't pay any extra. I just earn a little bit of commission, and I can keep the channel running because of that. So thank you guys so much. The retail price for this one is $77 US. That's before any taxes, sales, coupons, VAT, anything like that. It's a cheap watch, but you can expect to save a little bit more if you're willing to be patient. The watch comes in 8 different configurations, like you can see here. Lots of colors, and you also get a couple gold models for, I think it's like $5 extra. So keep that in mind. And also keep in mind the link that I provided you. They have both 37 and 41mm variants. So not sure why they didn't split those up. The NH35 is only available in 37mm, while the Miyota 8215 is available in the 41mm. So that's how you got to differentiate the two. Go for the NH35 if you want the 35mm. So the watch case is made of 316L stainless steel. The bracelet is just listed as solid stainless steel. It has a sapphire crystal, a screw-down crown, a screw-down case back, 50 meters of claimed water resistance, and the watch is powered by the Seiko NH35 automatic movement. So we can all say 2023 was the year of the PRX. It was a super popular watch. I've tried on both 41 and 35mm sizes. They're not a expensive watch, right? Obviously the automatic version is a little bit more, but the quartz versions are not expensive. They're attainable, and I could get them if I wanted to, but neither of them felt right to me. 41mm felt way too big, 35 was way too small. So this 37mm is kind of that Goldilocks size for me. I think it wears really good. But what do I think about the rest of the watch? I say let's dig in and let's find out. Doing a quick wrist check though before we do. Wearing the Seastern S446. Go check out the review for that one. Should be right up here. Really been enjoying this one. All right, so let's talk about the dimensions first. We've got a diameter of 37.1 millimeters, case thickness of 11.2 millimeters, bracelet width of 24.5 millimeters. We've got a total length of 47.8 millimeters, and sized up for my 7.5-inch wrist with 2 links removed. It weighs 123 grams. So like I said, I really do enjoy the size on this thing. These integrated bracelets, they wear bigger than non-integrated bracelets. So I like it. Usually 37 is kind of on the smaller side for me, but this thing just kind of works. And I think it helps that, this is a very vintage design. The smaller size just kind of fits with that. So I do like the way that it wears. I'll go outside right now and throw it on my wrist for you. And here we are on my 7.5-inch wrist, and I think it looks pretty good. I've tried the 41mm, I've tried the 35mm, and this one just kind of works for me. It's kind of that Goldilocks size. I think it looks pretty good. Obviously a pretty flat case, just like the other ones, but this one it just works for me. I think the fact that it's an integrated bracelet, 37mm is usually a little bit too small for me, but the integrated bracelet kind of beefs it up a little bit. I think it looks pretty good. And here we are out in some direct sunlight there. You can see, in my opinion, the dial kind of looks a little cheap out in the sunlight. It's definitely not a sunburst, but it does have a lot of metallic to it, so it kind of changes depending on how the light hits it there. The text and the printing just kind of vanishes when the light gets to it like that. It just doesn't look great in my opinion, but it doesn't look bad when it's not in direct sunlight like this. But I do like all the polishing on it. I think it looks good. The bracelet plays nicely with the light as well. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Obviously no straps for this one, so let's go back inside and let's get back to this review. All right, let's talk about the case finishing on this thing. So case finishing is a mixture of brushed and polished surfaces. So you can see here you have a fully polished bezel. I think it looks pretty good. Even the side profile here, looking really nice. It's nice and thin. I think it's good proportions. It looks nice. The top of the case here is a vertical brushing. Sometimes these brushings, they kind of get off center a little bit. This one looks pretty darn good. I've got no major complaints with that. I think maybe down in this corner it's just a little bit crooked, but for the most part, it's done nicely. It's about what I expected for this price point. It's a more coarse brushing, so you can really see those lines. I think it does look pretty good. Even the lug tips here, I guess that's what those are considered, are vertically brushed. On the sides here, you have a horizontal brushing. Again, nicely done. I've got no major complaints at the price point. I think it's done pretty well. It's kind of on par with what you expect from like Pagani design. You got a nice polished chamfer here. Pretty nice transitions too, nice and sharp. Yeah, the polishing is very minimal in this area, so it's hard to see if it's done nicely, but it does catch the light nice. And I think it just works with the case design. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that overall. You can see here an unsigned screw down crown. Nice knurling. It's a good size. You can see right here, right at the, see if I have a pointer. Right here, you can see there's a little notch out of the case. It's not really apparent when the crown is in, but when you get the crown out, you can definitely see that's not a very nice corner there. I don't know if that's a manufacturing defect on my unit or what, but yeah, it just doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. I can definitely, it catches on my finger a little bit every time I screw this in. So yeah, just something to note. Again, not sure if I got a bad one or what, but yeah, it's definitely there. It's not the best looking thing, but yeah, it is there. Flipping around to the case back here, you can see display case back. We'll test that for sapphire, but I'm guessing that's just mineral. But simple notches to get a tool in there, spec sheet around the outside. No major complaints with this. Brushing and polishing, it's pretty smooth. Got no major issues with that. Even the bottom edge of the case here, it's done pretty nicely. So yeah, surprisingly, this watch is fairly comfortable. The bracelet is not great. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But yeah, the case itself has been pretty soft on wrist. No sharp edges or anything like that. And the finishing is fine for this price point. Again, don't expect something like San Martin quality. Expect something more on the level of Pagani design. And I think you'll be happy with it. All right, so let's talk about the crystal on this thing. First things first, we'll test it for sapphire. You can see it is positive for sapphire. Flipping it over to the case back here, we got a mineral case back. So it is a sapphire crystal. It is perfectly flat. There's no AR coating on it at all. Barely sits up above the bezel there. There's a little bit of a chamfer around the outside, but it's a dead flat piece of sapphire crystal. I've got no real complaints with that. I don't think they need AR coating. Obviously it would help, but yeah, definitely not necessary. So yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm glad that it's sapphire at least. All right, so let's talk about the dial on this thing. So the dial is actually pretty interesting. You can see here, really cool waffle pattern there. At certain angles, it kind of goes to a dark green, as you can see there. And when it catches the light, it's more of a vibrant kind of in-your-face green. It looks really good. There's no real sunburst to it, but you can definitely see that waffle pattern catching the light depending on the angle. So it gives an interesting look to it. In my opinion, personally, I think it looks a little cheap, but that's because it is a cheap watch. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the color that they chose for it, especially since they kind of advertise like an army green or an olive green. This is definitely not that. So yeah, just something to note. You have these kind of pill-shaped applied indices, double indice at 12 o'clock, and then single indices everywhere else. You do have a nicely framed date window there. And you have a minute track printed on a flat piece of the dial. You have these little flat sections where the Specht and Sohne automatic there is at the 12 o'clock, as well as at the 6 o'clock. When you get these in certain lighting, like right there, you can see the text kind of just disappears, and it just kind of looks cheap again. I think the applied indices are done nicely. They catch the light nice. They are aligned nicely. They sparkle nicely. But yeah, they just, I don't know, the dial itself just doesn't look great in my opinion, at least in this color. The handset that they used, in my opinion, a good size, nicely faceted, nicely polished. Yeah, I can't complain too much at this price point. They are a little bit rough when you really get under them. And you can see like on the minute hand there's like a little scratch there. Again, not something I'm too overly concerned with at this price point. And also when I did get this thing, the second hand was hitting the minute hand, so I had to fix that myself. The sellers were perfectly nice about it. They gave me my, I think it was $15 back, and I fixed it myself. But yeah, it's just something to note. But yeah, I think the dial on this thing is okay. I'm going to pop up a Lume shot here, and the Lume on this watch is not great. You can see it against a couple other watches in the collection. Left side is a good Lume watch, right side is a bad Lume watch. This is somewhere in between, but mostly towards the bad side. Again, about what I expected for a watch like this. Yeah, it's just not great Lume. All right, so let's talk about the movement in the crown. So the movement inside is the Seiko NH35 automatic movement. Keep in mind the 41 millimeter version uses the Miyota 8215. So we're talking about the NH35. So it's a Seiko movement, automatic, hand winding, hacking, 21,600 beats per hour. So 6 ticks of the second hand every second. 40 hours of power reserve. It does everything you need it to. It's cheap. It's reliable. This one has been super accurate for me, as you can see right here. There's no sense in complaining about that. It is excellent as far as the accuracy goes. I'm not sure if they're regulating these movements or if I just got lucky, but yeah, that's a good sign. Really good sign from Specht and Sohne. So yeah, really happy with the accuracy on this thing. The movement is operated by this 3 o'clock screw down crown. Again, the screw in, screw out action, it's fine. No real complaint. You do get a nice satisfying pop out. First position is your hand winding. Feels just like any other NH35. No surprises there. Pull it out to the first position, roll it back. That changes your date. And you can see here the alignment on that date window looks pretty darn good to me. Yeah, got no complaints with that. Pulling it out to the second position, hacks the movement. This is where you set your time. Just as always, no slop in the second hand or anything like that. The crown feels pretty solid as well. Pushing it in every time engages the second hand, so that's nice to see as well. Yeah, overall, very satisfied with it. I wish they would just clean up that edge right there. It's a little bit sharp. It catches my thumb when I'm trying to screw it in. But other than that, I cannot complain with the accuracy. I can't complain with the movement, especially for the price. Yeah, it's really good. Well, how can I complain with that? All right, so let's talk about the bracelet on this thing. So bracelet, it is integrated, so lug width doesn't really matter. The first link here is 24.5 millimeters, and it tapers down to 18 millimeters at the clasp. So nice taper to it. In my opinion, the brushing is actually pretty nice on it, as you can see there. I've got no complaints with it. The tolerances are, in my opinion, acceptable for this price point. Obviously, I wish it was a little bit tighter. There's a little bit of jangle to it, but yeah, it's really not that bad. You can see the end link fitment here, not great. I haven't messed with this bracelet at all, and that's kind of how it fits. So it does kind of rattle around on wrist. These split pins here, they have kind of worked themselves out of the hole every once in a while. So just something to note, if you're wearing this thing a lot, make sure you're keeping an eye on those things. If they fall out, your bracelet will fall off. So yeah, just something to note. But the finishing on the bracelet, I think is fine. The brushing looks good. Flows with the case, in my opinion. Polished on the sides. Nice thin links as well. It's split pins for sizing. As you can see there, I removed 2 links for my 7.5 inch wrist. So no issues with the size on this thing. Plenty of removable links, and they also provide you with half links, which is nice to see. So yeah, you should be able to get a pretty good fitment on this one. I was able to. Butterfly clasp is not my favorite. This one works fine. It's definitely nothing special. It's not too terribly offensive, especially since they give you half links, but yeah, I would definitely just prefer a normal clasp on this thing, but it is what it is, and it does flow fairly nicely together. You can see these 2 links, they do have a little bit of play once they're snapped together, so you're getting a little bit of rattle there too, but yeah, it's not horrible. Again, considering the price, it's not bad. There are sharp corners everywhere on this bracelet, like right here for sure. That's a nice sharp corner. That's a nice sharp corner. At all the links themselves, if you kind of run your thumb along this, all these leading links here, these leading edges here, are nice and sharp. So it doesn't feel great when you're just holding it in your hand. It hasn't been too terribly uncomfortable on wrist, but I've definitely noticed a little bit of irritation on the bracelet, or from the bracelet. It doesn't pull hairs or anything like that, but yeah, just something to note. When you're sliding it on wrist especially, you can feel these things kind of rub up against your hands and rub up against your wrist. So it's not great, but yeah, it's about, again, what I expected from a watch like this. The bracelet itself has been fairly fluid, and so yeah, I think it does look pretty good. It does wear pretty good, but like I said, it could use some dulling of these edges here. So yeah, I do like the fact that they did provide half links, so 2 half links. So you should be able to get a good fit on this despite having that butterfly clasp. So there you go, guys. This is my first Specht & Sohne from AliExpress. Am I impressed? Not really. The dial, I think, looks pretty cheap. The bracelet has some sharp edges and sharp corners on it. You know, I think for $75 or less, you're going to be able to get it for less. you're getting a sapphire crystal, you're getting an NH35, you're getting a nice design. I think the finishing is perfectly acceptable at this price point. Yeah, it's not bad, but they definitely need to, soften up these bracelet edges for me to really like to wear this watch for a long period of time. For right now, it's just one of those things that I throw on for an hour or so, and I do enjoy it while I'm wearing it for that time. But it's not something that I'm gonna want to wear all day long because of that bracelet. So just something to know. I do believe they are coming out with a rubber strap for this thing, so that would be nice to see. But yeah, I think at a distance, maybe a different color would look better, but yeah, just not a huge fan, not bonding with this one like I thought I would. But it's really hard to argue with a nice running NH35 sapphire crystal steel, solid stainless steel. Yeah, for $75 or less, it's kind of a bargain in my opinion. So yeah, I think that's it for me, guys. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.